It's time for the second test between South Africa and New Zealand, and this one will be taking place in Hamilton. Now, South Africa were dominated in the first test, and it's now time for a massive performance from this unit. They're going to have to, in my opinion, really step up and perform and show what they show their true colors in this particular match. It's time for redemption, I think it is for a lot of them, and for them to prove their worth, that they aren't as bad as what the display showed us in the first test. It's going to come with its own challenges, different conditions, and it's going to be something that South Africa is going to need to be wary of going into this second test. At least we are back to test cricket and focusing on South African cricket again. The SA20 is now officially over. Sunrise is obviously winning a second title on the bounce. So now it's back full focus on domestic cricket, the last leg of it, as well as this test match. So today I'm going to be doing a couple of things. I'm going to be reacting to Shukri Conrad's press conference, the one that he gave recently. I have not watched it yet, and I wanted to keep it for the preview show because I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot that was said in that's going to give us some sort of indication on what the mindset is going into this second test. I'm also going to take a look at what the batting consultant Imran Khan said, as well as Neil Brunt in his captain's presser. So we're going to be reacting to all of that, and I'm going to get into the fans in the live chat to try and determine what you guys think and how you guys are feeling ahead of this particular test match. So there's a lot to get through, so bear with me, and let's get straight into it. But before we get going, before we get started, we are getting closer to 5,000 subscribers, and that's our next milestone. So please help us out by getting there. Click that subscribe button and that notification bell for all future videos. You can also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. And it will also really help us out a lot if you can share this link with friends, family, colleagues that want to start a business, that have started a business already, or have products to sell. We have launched the Business Corner to try and help small businesses to medium enterprises market their business affordably and effectively. And we've set up our whole strategy, etc. And also we've giving away a free consultancy for you guys to have a conversation with us to see whether we can help you and how we can help you and how we can fit into your marketing strategy, etc. So go ahead and send this link to as many people as you know, as many business owners, as many entrepreneurs, as many startups that you know that are looking to market their business effectively and affordably. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. I am looking forward to discussing this one and seeing what Coach Shukri's mindset is, as well as the players ahead of this important test match between South Africa and New Zealand. A very good evening. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. We are back again with our 7 o'clock slot. Now that the SA20 is over, we've got our slot back where we can have nice conversations with all the fans that normally tune in on a regular basis. So this is your preview show. I'm your host, Khalid Moedin, and this is the show where we're going to be talking about everything that has to do with the second test between South Africa and New Zealand. It is going to be in Hamilton, and it kicks off this evening, 11:30 South African Standard Time is the toss, and then midnight the first ball will be bowled. So we're going to have a clash where I feel big performances are going to be needed. This team is going to need to step up and show us what they're truly capable of. By no means do I think that they performed at their best in the previous match. I think that they left a lot in that changing room, basically, and not out in the middle. Particularly the batters, I feel they never played to their standard and to their ability. I also think that they did all the hard yards. They were halfway there, and they just didn't take it to the next level, into that next. They didn't take that next step They kind of did all the hard yards to get themselves in, and then gave their wicket away. Silly wickets were given away, poor shot selection, etc. That saw a lot of our batters lose their wickets in critical times in the match when they had the perfect example of from New Zealand on how to apply themselves and how to bat on that wicket. They were lucky enough to be able to bat second, so they would be able to see what New Zealand could do and what how to approach their innings on that wicket. So I'm hoping that they did learn from this and that they can move on from this for the next game. But I think first and foremost, I'm going to react to Coach Shukri Conrad's press conference after the match because I didn't watch it yet because I was so busy covering SA20 and I was at stadium and etc. So I didn't really get to react to this on the show yet. And I thought that there might be some gems in here that we might pick up about strategy and about what went wrong in that match. And Coach Shukri is generally very honest in his press conferences. So let's see what he had to say. It might give us some insight into his thinking going into this next test. So let's see what he had to say.
Did this, you guys spoke quite a lot about your first class record and your experience in first class cricket. Did this test match show just how big the gap is between test cricket and first class cricket?
Hi, Stewie. Yeah, if I were brutally honest, I think it showed quite a few things. There's obviously got to factor in the nervous tensions, etc., that goes with debuting for a lot of players, and then obviously the nerves that a test match brings. But yeah, look, I think the divide is great. So if I were to answer you bluntly, I'd say yes.
Wow, that's a massive statement.
What has been the sort of the assessment from the players' perspective about how they felt that match went for them and the areas that they learned lessons?
Look, I think it goes without saying also that the relentless pressure that a bowling attack puts on you at this level. They don't bowl better away swingers and better in swingers and better bouncers. They just bowl less bad balls. And similarly, from a batting perspective, as soon as you err, whether it be on line or length, you get punished. So I think those were the harsh learnings for our guys. But having said all of that, I did expect a bolder showing, especially on the batting side, where I felt we let ourselves down quite a bit.
Okay, that is as honest as you can get. And I agree 100% because that's exactly what my statement was. Yes, there is a gap between domestic and test level. And particularly, I've always mentioned it's because you get less bad balls at test level. You've got world-class bowlers on both sides that can put the ball on a good line and length consistently over and over again. Whereas in domestic cricket, you do tend to get a couple of bowlers that maybe they waver in their consistency. So you're not going to get that similar type of good deliveries over and over again and testing you. But at the same time, it was a flat wicket, and these batters should have batted better. They can bat better than this, and I agree with Coach Shukri. I also expected a bolder uh, performance from these batters.
Thanks, Stu. Who would like to take the next one? Just a reminder to raise your hand. Go ahead, Telford.
Thanks, Lucy. How's the trickery? I wonder how are the guys doing mentally? You know, they were thumped. There was an expectation that they were up against a better team, and that turned out to be the case. You know, and how are they doing mentally, considering they're going to go and do it all again in a couple of days?
Look, we'll only really see. For now, they're fine. You know, we didn't do too much of a debrief yesterday. We've had obviously 3 days, or well, 4 days of really hard grind, and we put a lot of practice in prior to the match. So I didn't want to do too much of a debrief after the day's play. So we basically left the guys to their own devices. A day off today, guys either went up the mount, beaching, golfing, whatever they did. We go to Auckland tomorrow, but I think the real test will come when we step out on the field again in a few days' time, But for now, they're in decent spirits. But obviously, a few of them would have taken a bit of a knock in terms of the harsh realities that Test cricket brings, and possibly how far away they probably still are. I think many feel that they're closer to the Test side than they currently are, and then you go through a few days like they have been, and that is a little jolt and a little wake up call as well.
Wow. And I guess that's a jolt and a wake up call for maybe some of us as well as fans, because we are very quick to want to say, and we all are guilty of this, I think myself included as well. We are quick to want to say this player, the X player, Y player needs to be put straight into the test side or straight into an international team, when we don't actually realize how massive that step up actually is. And you can see you could see in that first test the difference in class between someone like maybe a David Bedingham and maybe some other batters. This just with how their techniques look and how comfortable they seemed in the middle. So there are quite a few domestic cricketers that maybe are still far away from that test call up, just from where their techniques are. And this is where I feel that we need to trust a coach like Coach Shukri, who has a hell of a lot of experience in understanding a player and how close they are. So that is something that would we need to take into account and we need to consider.
Thanks, Talford, for those.
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Shuksa. I just want to ask you about three guys specifically in relation to what you just mentioned about being far away. So Neil Brand was obviously quite keen on maybe stepping into Dean Elgar's shoes, and I'd like to know kind of how he experienced captaincy, and obviously he bowled pretty well. But then also Zubair Hamza and Kevin Peterson, I would guess they'd be the closest batters, to stepping in, and obviously KP's been there before. Are they still, from what you've seen, how far away are they?
I think, look, I mean, you look at KP and Zubi, Branty didn't get out of the blocks at all this test match. I think the first innings dismissal, I mean, it was just lethargic. He spent a lot of overs and a lot of hours bowling, and yeah, just 2 days took its toll. But we're expecting a lot from Zubi, KP, and Bedders, if the truth be told, because they are the guys with a few test matches under the belt. They probably have been around a bit longer than others. So yes, we'll be expecting a bit more from the KPs and Zubi. KP played really well yesterday. I thought he really played well yesterday and in the first dig. But playing well has got to start playing itself out into runs scored as well, So yeah, they're still there and thereabouts, obviously. Zubi came in as a replacement in the last test match in Cape Town, came into the squad. So those are the guys that are either in the squads or on the fringes.
Thanks for those. Percival?
I was particularly disappointed with the two of their performances, because they did all the hard yards to get themselves in, and then they played really silly shots to go out. So there is a lot of pressure on them, but it's rightly so. I mean, they want to be test players, and if that's what they want to be, then that's what they're going to have to do, is to deal with that pressure and deal with that situation. That comes part with the territory. So yeah, that's something that I want to see. I want to see those three players really step up in this test. There shouldn't be too many excuses for them. There can maybe be for a couple of the other guys, but yeah, it was a harsh reality for them that they had to experience that. But like I said, I was particularly upset by the way they lost their wickets. It wasn't necessarily like New Zealand bowled good deliveries to them that they lost the wicket due to a good delivery. All three of them lost their wickets to to poor shot selection and incorrect shot selection. I don't know how much that had to do with the amount of minutes they put in the middle, or how many games, how many balls they faced. but you would expect better decision making from the likes of those three.
Good morning, Lucy. Good day, Coach. Lucy, I'm willing to wait until the end to ask an Afrikaans question or two for the coach if you want to wait.
Ons praat nie Afrikaans in Nieu-Seeland nie.
No, thanks, thanks.
Can I go?
Yeah, we'll hold you for the end of
Okay, thank
the
God.
media off, and then we'll go ahead with Ongaba.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Coach.
Hello, Ngoma.
Yeah, most of these guys, especially the debutants, you're adding more. So it's guys that we've seen domestically, and some of the dismissals that we watched in this test match were so uncharacteristic. You know, it's nothing that we've seen from them before. You know, and I'm just interested, Coach, in terms of finding out how do you as a coach intervene and then just to make sure that these guys come the second test, they are more ready, they are more calm, and they can go out there and express themselves. How do you lend a helping hand in this situation?
Yeah, look, I mean, pressure does hell of a things to you. You've got all these game plans, and you prepped, and you've done everything, and then the harsh reality strikes. As coaches, we obviously try and bring clarity. We try and keep them as calm, and we try and simplify things. I think very often guys come at this level and they feel that there's silver bullets need to be landing from all over, and where in fact all you do is you simplify matters. So again, like I said earlier, guys will have a couple of days off, and then when we get to Auckland, we'll gather as a group and talk through the batting, especially. I think we did rather nicely on the bowling front for the stocks that we've got. But the batting, yeah, I think we've just got to keep guys calm, try and bring clarity. And it's easy to say to go out and back yourself, but when your every move is being magnified and your technique is being cut to shreds on TV and elsewhere, then and this is what the harsh realities of Test cricket is, and this is what players are going to have to deal with. But they'll be better for the experience. They'll be better for the run under their belt, and I'm sure we'll see an improved performance in Auckland.
I hope so.
Or Hamilton, sorry.
Hamilton.
If I can follow up on that, Lucy. Coach, I mean, these guys, your Eddie, as you mentioned, do we look at this performance and start questioning the strength of our domestic cricket, because the same structure produced your Tony Dizorzi, who went against West Indies and India, performed well against those two sides. Do we start questioning the domestic structure, or is it more of a mental thing that we saw in New Zealand?
I think we always will not question our domestic structure, because like you rightly say, we produce really good cricketers. I think when a Tony Dizorzi walks in to make his debut, he walks in after Aidan Markram and Dean Algo have got however many tests behind the name, and then Temba Bavuma walks in at 4. And you've got whoever walked batting at 5. So you walk into the side and there's lots of experience at test level. When he walked out to bat the other day, he walked out with somebody who was also making his debut, right? And at 3 was also someone making his debut. So I wouldn't read and go shredding our first class game. Yes, there are areas where it can improve, but I think we've got to provide context there, that all of these guys are inexperienced at this level. And first class cricket, yes, they've got heaps of first class experience. They don't have any test match experience, and there's a massive divide between tests, or massive gap between test cricket and first class cricket anywhere in the world, not only in South Africa.
But that is true, and he's Coach Shukri spot on. There are certain aspects of the mental side of things that helps a lot of other players, maybe certain players, deal with that pressures better than others, and that is something that maybe needs to be worked on. But I think particularly it is important to understand the influence it has when you're walking out to the middle with guys that have this experience already. You know that there's people behind you, that if you fail, there's not going to be the whole country is not going to be completely all blaming you or on your case. At the moment, every single player over here, there's like a magnifying glass on their performances at the moment. That's where they're currently sitting with, which is okay. But I just think, like Coach Shukri said earlier on, you need to kind of just simplify your game again. Don't overthink it. David Bedingham proved that in his second innings. He went out there and he just trusted his game. Now, for him again, he'll learn that he might not he might not get the same freedom as he gets in domestic cricket, where he can continue that attacking approach all right through his innings. You need to be able to also assess when to adapt your game to the conditions and to the match situation and to the current situation. You also have to kind of think and predict what the opposition is going to do. Like New Zealand set up Bedingham perfectly. They knew that, okay, you're confident on the short ball now because you've hit us away a couple of times. After the break, you're going to come out and there's a break in concentration. You took X amount of balls to build yourself up to the point where you can hit us like this. Let's just pepper you again and see if you're going to fall for the trap. And he did. So I felt that he maybe needed to just hold off on that shot that was getting him those runs, try and get himself into a flow of things again, bat on ball, get a couple of singles maybe, almost retrain his eye to get moving again before going again gunzo, especially when you're on 87 like he was. The gap between the domestic cricket and test cricket, we all know that it's there. And this is a good thing for South African, I think, for South African cricket to realize how big that gap actually is. And for players to realize that, because I'm telling you that there's other domestic cricketers around the world, the country, that are watching this and saying, whoa, I haven't even gotten close to the amount of domestic games that those guys have. My average isn't even close to what their averages have been over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And they struggling the way they are. Maybe this will be a wake-up call to our domestic cricketers to this up their games domestically a little bit more.
Thanks, Ogama. We're going to look to take another one from Firdous, Talford, and then Kaniso.
Shux, just on a bigger picture perspective, how do you feel the New Zealand public and media and team have received you guys? And also, I mean, yeah, they might be top of the championship now, but you know what fixtures you've got coming up in the next year. Does this feel like the end of the world, or does it feel like it's kind of okay?
No, it's not okay. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough for everyone here. Obviously, we'll keep getting behind the guys and we'll give our everything, but it's really tough walking in. It's like Burnley going to Anfield every week. If it was a T20 game, one performance can win a game for you. 50 over game, a great spell with the new ball. It's 5 days of cricket where it is relentless, the pressure, and you've got to be on top of your game all the time against the quality side, like New Zealand especially. And we've been received really well. It's been great preparation. The people have been fantastic, and I think New Zealand showed us the greatest respect by going into bat a second time.
Yeah.
That's what they would have done if they were playing Australia or England or a full strength South African side. So from that front, they certainly haven't patronized us, if that's the right word, in any way by playing it differently. You see how Kane Williamson goes about his business, and they've paid us all the respect in the world by playing the way they do, and they're certainly treating it as test cricket where they can get points, but they still need to be doing all their processes properly as well.
I actually said that. It was actually quite a humble decision for them to go out and bat again. I thought that they showed us a lot of respect by doing so. I did mention that in my review, actually, after the day's play. So very interesting that the coach thought the same thing, actually.
Thanks, Fidoz. Telford?
Shukri, you spoke earlier about the difference between first class and test cricket being, the absence of bad balls at this level. And I just wondered, how does that apply to captaincy? What's the difference, between captaining at first class level and at this level? And how do you think Neil Brown did as a captain?
I thought Brunty did really well, maneuvering our bowlers around. Look, these are the four bowlers that we had, the four quicks and him. And it's not easy to manage four inexperienced. Well, Pato obviously brings a bit more experience to manage, and I thought he captained really well. I really thought he captained really well. We take our chances on day one. Yeah, you like I said, you're going to, like Burnley going to Anfield, and you're going to have to live on the breadcrumbs. And every now and again, when a slice comes around, you've got to grab it with both hands. And we didn't. And that first day could have been slightly different. And the longer we have them in the field batting, and then we bat properly, the more chances there were for Burnley to scrap something out of the game, because that's pretty much how you set up. But to answer your question, I thought Brunty captained really well. It obviously weighed on him, having had to bowl as many overs as he did, and yeah, that took its toll. But yeah, full marks to him.
Thanks, Telford. Kaniso, then we're going to go Zahir and then wrap with Percival.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Good morning from the side, Shooks, and good evening that side. Shooks, I know that it's still pretty much early after the test match wash up, but are there any changes that you may have in mind for the second test?
Yeah, we're going to obviously have to look at not only the conditions, but potentially where else we can challenge the New Zealand batters. I don't want to lose any of our batting. I think that's the only way we're going to get something out of the test match. We have to bat really well. We've got to have as many batters as we can and try and take the game as deep as we can, and maybe force New Zealand into making a rash decision. But we're going to have to look at, from a bowling attack, possibly how else we can challenge them. In this past test match, we thought the wicket would be a bit quicker than it was. We thought it would do a little bit more. Even New Zealand was surprised. So we basically only had the little window with the new ball where we could attack them,
Yeah, that's true.
And I've got to put my thinking cap on together with other coaches and try and look at other ways where we possibly can challenge them. So yeah, I'm expecting maybe one or two changes, yes, to see how else we can get something out of the next test.
Thanks, Kaniso. Zahir?
How's it, Shooks? You kind of answered a little bit there, but you spoke about four quicks that you have. Obviously, that's what you have, but that's 10k slower than the other side. Does it not become a situation again, what you spoke about earlier, where you got to find different ways to get wickets, and we've seen in the past in New Zealand where someone like a part-time spinner like JP, Kesh, they've actually done very well and bowled New Zealand out. Is it not maybe a way to go where you change things up dramatically because of what you actually have at your disposal?
Yeah, could do. Again, I think context is JP and Keshav, or JP becomes an effective part-time bowler if he bowls after KG or Dale or Vernon or someone. So we've got to provide context all the time. And again, I thought, let's call them seamers and rather not quicks. Our four seamers did a reasonable job on day one. And into day two, that was always how we were going to set up. We wanted to just manage the run rate. We were never looking to, and this might sound terrible, but we were realistic enough to know that you're not going to knock New Zealand over, so you've got to drag the game. So if you drag the game with a bowling side and they don't bat at a decent rate, and you can then drag the game by batting well, you can possibly go deep into day five, and who knows, But you're right. And I can almost assure you that there will be a couple of changes because we need to challenge them in other ways. Yes, the new ball, we must challenge them, and if it means we then got to challenge them on the spin front, that's something we need to talk through.
Yeah, because that's
But
the only
it's definitely a
options really.
consideration.
And Mapungwana really that
Okay.
can come in here.
Yeah, we're going to look to conclude with the Afrikaans questions.
Okay, that's it. I'm gonna cancel. Yeah, this is gonna be forever. There's Afrikaans questions from Percival are always long, so I'm going to remove that. So that's what Coach Shukri had to say. So he's gonna have to change things up a bit. Let me just get through some of your comments before we move on to the next reaction to Imran Khan. Burbik saying Mopangwana would be interesting selection. With his height, he might add something positive to the bowling attack. It's a possibility that this could happen. I don't think Don Olivier should play bowling at 120, to be honest with you. Um, and so I think he should come out to the team. And they're going to have to decide what they're going to go with Mapungwana. I mean, Ruben de Swart's bowling 118 kilometers per hour. That's no, but he got wickets. So that's going to be an interesting decision to make over there because I mean, Duan Olivier not only was he bowling 120, but he wasn't even threatening the opposition batters. I think any team would struggle if half the team were debutants. The poor performance is not necessarily a sign of domestic cricket being poor. I don't think it's a sign of domestic cricket being poor. I think it's a sign of, for me personally, I think it's a sign of a reality check for the players, domestic players, to make them realize how far off they actually are from um, from being good enough to play Test cricket. So that's where I sit with this, is that a lot of these players would feel outdone by if they don't get into the SAA side. A lot of them feel upset if they don't get selected for the Protea side with good domestic performances. And I think it's maybe just a little bit of a reality check to make them realize how far away they actually are. Because the players that were selected have been really good in domestic cricket over the last 4 or 5 years. They really have dominated domestic cricket. So it's interesting to see them. So them struggling over here is a sign also to the domestic guys to realize that the levels are quite big. The gap is quite big. Really hope the guys will get up for the second test tonight. The coach and some of the players all said they'll give it a good go and be competitive. We weren't that in game one, so hopefully this game we are. The gap is absolutely massive, says Lawrence. We Burnley, that's a good comparative, to be honest. Shukri is a Liverpool fan, yes. Sean van Berg to play Oxen's role. Lawrence saying, going off what Shukri and Brandt has said. Okay, we're going to get into what Brandt said. Dame Pitt could be more defensive spinner, holding up one end, while Van Berg being the attacking force. Rowan did a good job, though. Yeah, that's why I didn't really say that he should be taken out of the team necessarily, out of the ones that are. For me, Dwan was probably the weakest link in that bowling attack. How did your pace attack for T20 World Cup? For me, it's Bartman, Nokia, Berger. Okay, I'm not going to get into T20 World Cup now. Why no SA20 players added to the test team? Okay, so a lot of people have been asking this question, and I've been told that once your team is selected for a test match, ICC rules, you can't change it unless there's an injury. So you can't bring anybody new into the squad unless there's an injury. So that's the reason why none of them are there. And I think it's also got to do with the climatizing as well. Although I don't really think that would have been a massive thing, given that some of our test players were dumped out of the tournament very early. So that's something, yeah, that I've heard. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed. I tried to do some research on it and I couldn't find anything concrete in the rules. But that's what I've been told, that once the squad is being entered, that you can't make any changes unless there's an injury. Let me get into the next reaction, and that will be a little bit of a conversation that Imran Khan had. He's the Dolphins coach, but also the batting consultant of the Proteas currently. It's not a long video, guys, so just bear with me. he will be able to give us some insight into the batting, hopefully.
It was a tough one for us in that first test. New Zealand obviously played incredible cricket, put us under pressure from the get-go. But look, the spirits within the camp is still positive. We know we're going to have to be a lot better, and I think we're going to have to be a lot better across the various skill sets, batting, bowling, and fielding. And I think the biggest talking point is really just being about processes. Just being able to stick to processes for a longer period of time, and hopefully then reap the rewards from that.
Do you watch the tape of the first test, or do you just flush it and move on?
No, look, obviously we take the key learnings out of the first test. I think it'll be a little bit ignorant to completely ignore the information from that first test. So we look at the things that we've done well and the areas that we need to improve on, and go from there.
Just a couple more from me. How much do you know about Willow Rourke? It sounds like he might make his test debut. How much?
I'm not really interested in that.
Our analysis has obviously done his homework. We'll obviously go through the footage of him, and come up with plans a little bit later.
He's about 1.97 metres tall. Kyle's about 2.03 metres. How do you feel about the prospect of those two potentially bowling in tandem?
I think it's exciting. I mean, I think if you're playing at this level, it's a wonderful opportunity, and the challenge is different from every bowler. I mean, obviously New Zealand's got a very experienced attack, so it's something that as a batting unit we'll relish, and do our homework accordingly, and be ready to produce a better performance. Good, cheers. Thank you.
Did you have, sorry, I know
Aaron
it's still
Goyle
going.
Aaron Goyle from Stuff. What conditions do you expect out here in Hamilton for the second test, and much different from at Bay Oval?
Yeah, I think we expect it to be a little bit quicker than perhaps
That's
first test, but I do think it'll be a good wicket. Obviously, just having a look at the conditions, it probably might do a little bit with the new ball, but I think end up being a good surface again.
Look here. I've looked at the stats. I've looked at the analysis of the wickets, etc., and it seems to be a lot a greener wicket apparently. More for the quicks. I mean, I looked at the games there previously, and all seamers taking wickets in all the matches that I checked out, particularly over the last 3-4 years, 2020, 2019, 2019. There were 2 matches there. But New Zealand scored over 700 runs in 2019 there against Bangladesh, and 500 runs were scored there in the last 2 matches, in the last 2 matches as well. So big runs can be scored on this ground, but there is going to be a lot, I think, in it as well for the like you said, with the new ball, and I think that's going to be the key. Obviously, taking wickets with the new ball. But like Coach Shukri said, and I agree with him, we need to find other ways on how to test and challenge New Zealand's batters, because our 125 kilometers, 122, 118 kilometers per hour balls coming in at them wasn't testing them a lot. They could be as patient as they wanted to be, and they could play as late as they wanted to be with soft hands, and they didn't need to really take too much risks against us in that first test match. So yeah, we're gonna have to be a lot better. But we're going to have to bat better. If we can just bat properly, we can have a match on our hands. The processes, like he says, they better have gotten their processes correctly this time around.
Expect New Zealand to play spinner, out and out spinner this time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they've obviously got 2 seam bowlers that's still within the squad. Obviously, Neil Wagner is there as well, along with the new boy. So it'll be interesting to see what combinations they put out. I do expect them to play an extra seamer. Whether it involves Santner missing out we'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
What things were you mostly working on as the batting group after Mount Wanganui, and was there anything that you sort of perhaps didn't expect coming into the series?
Look, there was obviously a lot of emotion going into the test for a lot of our boys. We had 6 guys on debut, guys returning into the test arena. And I think test cricket's brutal, if you're not completely switched on, if there's a little bit of anxiety, it can expose you. But having said that, if I look at our batting performances across both innings, a lot of our guys in that top 6 managed to get a start. So that's a positive. And I think we've just got to really trust our processes for an extended period of time, and I'm pretty sure that will give us the rewards that we're looking for.
Awesome.
Yeah, we really needed a good start there to settle the nerves. That made a massive difference to our approach. We if we got a good start, I think the nerves would have been a little more settled, etc. I mean, we need to see Eddie Moore and Brandt be a little bit more switched on. I think perhaps for this test match, um, that toss is going to be important. So let's see what happens. Lawrence is given his 11 already. Same Brandt, Moore, Hamza, KP, Bedingham, Rena van Tonda, De Swart, Fortuin, Van Berg, Piet Patterson. Um, Time for KP and Hamza to make responsibility, take more responsibility with the bat. So let Reynard settle in at 5. I mean, I don't really mind that at all. Piet open the bowling, says Bubik. Pato and De Swart can open the bowling. I doubt Shukri will go with the side exactly as I think we'll see Olivier in the 11. Don't really see him getting dropped. I don't see why not. He didn't really offer much in that test. I mean, I'd rather keep Moreki than keep Tuan Olivier at the moment with the way Moreki has bowled in that match. Let's just have a look at the Neil Brandt press and see what we can pick up from there as well.
G'day Neil, Broden here from TV01 News.
Yes.
How are you finding Hamilton?
Yeah, good city. Luckily, we right in the city centre, so everything's nice and close. All the restaurants are close, and managed to play some golf yesterday, which was great.
And how are preparations going for the second test?
Yes, very good. We've done a lot of reflecting over the last few days, and for us, it's just about keeping things simple. We don't want to complicate things too much. Yeah, it's been really good. The facilities here are great, as well as has it been everywhere in New Zealand. So yeah, it's been a good few days of prep.
I mean, the mindset should be not to be simple from the start. You should never they should have never ever gotten into a space where they feel that they can be try something different. Like stick to what works for you as a batter. Like this is your opportunity to show the world what you can do, kind of. So you got an opportunity over here that probably wouldn't have come your way in the next couple of years, and you're lucky enough to be able to have given a chance to show your worth. So just stick to the basics and the things that worked for you. I mean, particularly that wicket in the first test, it was a flat wicket, Ben. It wasn't offering a lot of demons, etc. in the wicket. There wasn't a lot of demons in the wicket. So I don't get the decision making to try weird things, and weird things were tried. And I don't think that should be the case in this particular match. We get humble, get down to earth, and play normal cricket shots. I mean, Kane Williamson didn't take risks against South Africa. He batted like you would bat against Australia or bat against England or bat any team like I said, with respect. Test cricket is a game that you can't disrespect test cricket. You need to respect the game because it tests you no matter who you're playing against. So just something that they need to learn is to go back to basics again and just trust their own game plans.
You talk about reflecting. You did have some bright moments from that first test. So how do you look to build from those positive parts as a foundation to putting up a closer contest this time?
Yes, yeah, I mean, we just have to do the right things for longer. I think, especially with the bat, we've gotten ourselves into not good positions, but sort of in better positions. And then it's just, one thing in particular is losing wickets after breaks, which is something that we've spoken about, and losing 2 wickets at a time, which isn't ideal in Test cricket. So we just want to do the right things for longer, and as I said, just keep things simple.
There's the potential that this could be the first South African team to lose a Test series to the Black Caps.
Yeah.
Is that a motivator heading into this?
Definitely, yes. We definitely want to come away with something, as I've been saying all along. So yeah, desperate to put in a good performance this week, and hopefully we can get ourselves into the game.
Daniel from SCNZ Radio. Conditions probably a bit lively, a bit more pace, a bit more bounce. Well, I guess you hope that. It was a bit docile at times. From what you're saying, we understand here could suit maybe your attack a little bit more?
Yes, I think it will suit our attack, especially our seam bowlers. But yeah, there's a lot of sun around. So I mean, from what I've seen in New Zealand, the grass burns away fairly quickly, and it does look like there is a few patches on the wicket. So yeah, hopefully we can put it to good use, and hopefully the spinners come into the game later on.
How far off do you think you were?
The spinners. It looks like they're going to go with spinners.
You know, Kane Williamson does Kane Williamson things, guy gets 240 as well. Did you feel like you're a long way off?
To be honest, I don't think we were miles off. I said to the boys after, I think we were good for about 65% of the game. But yeah, I mean, you can't be dropping players like Kane and Ratchin, especially in the first innings. You know, we at T, I think they were 120, so they scored 60 runs per session, which is really good from our bowlers. And then yeah, they obviously got away from us at the end of the day there. But yeah, I don't think we're miles away. I mean, obviously we have to learn pretty quickly at this level, and something that we're desperate to do and put it right this week.
Yeah, those drop catches costed us a hell of a lot. They better be switched on in the field at least.
About the batting side of it, that's probably where the biggest adjustments need to come, you know?
Yes, yeah, definitely. As I said, we have to do the right things for longer, and myself personally have to find a way to get through that new ball, which has been tricky in these conditions. But yeah, as I said, the wickets look like they're getting better for batting the longer you can hang out there. So yeah, it's just about keeping our confidence high and making sure that we keep believing in ourselves.
Everyone healthy?
Yes, everyone's fit and healthy. Yes, yeah, no COVID.
Well, you probably end up bowling a lot more than you expected maybe to Bay. Like, have you thought about changing maybe the
Yes, in the last press, our coach said there could be a few changes. So, yes, there will be a couple of changes, I assume, but I will have to find out at the toss tomorrow.
So keeping that close to your chest.
Yes,
but more
yeah.
likely what, in the bowling, or you know, what can you say?
Yeah, probably. I'm not going to lie. Probably a few more changes in the bowling than the batting side of things. I think you know, the middle order in particular got themselves in, and you know, there was a few 30s and 40s, and obviously Bedingham got that nice 87. We want obviously him to push on and get a big score for us. He's massive in the batting department, and yeah, as I said, everyone got starts. It's just about doing those things for longer, and especially after the breaks.
I thought you bowled really well the first couple of sessions. They could have easily been 5 or 6 down. You go past the edge a lot. So like, is it variety of attack? You know, what would you like to see on the bowling?
Yeah, just a few more options. You know, as you said, after the new, I think we were really good with the new ball in both innings. It's just about, you know, I understand this wicket might be a bit different, but we just want a couple more options from the over 20th through to the new ball. Just about how we can try and, you know, dismantle that middle order, especially guys like Kane and Ratchin. And I'm not sure. I see Darren Mitchell's out, so I'm assuming Will Young will replace him. So yeah, it's just about trying to find ways to take wickets in the middle periods, and yeah, we've been building pressure, but we just haven't found a way how to strike with the older ball.
How hectic has this couple of weeks been for you personally?
Yeah, it's been, obviously the test match was really tough. I think on day 3 I was pretty tired. You know, Dane Pitt said that Hashim Amla told him that every day feels like a test match when you're playing test cricket. So you know, it's been difficult, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. I think I've learned a lot about myself as a person, and yeah, I really love being in this environment. So hopefully I can put in a few good performances.
Yeah. So from that, I got that probably the changes are going to be in the bowling attack. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make a couple of changes with the bowlers. I personally wouldn't drop Pato or Moreki. I think they bowled really well with the new ball, particularly, and they're the only ones that get it up to 130, 130 plus. So I wouldn't necessarily go there with that. The spinning option, to have more options, the only way they can have more options is if they have a spinner, and they add a spinner into the mix. So I think Dwan Olivier coming out for one of the spinners is probably going to happen. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Mapungwana, if he's going to come in or not. Ruanda Swat didn't bowl too badly, even though he only bowled at 118. So it would be harsh to drop him for the next test. And he also adds the batting option as well. if there's a batting change, like Lorenzo's mentioning that there might seems like Brunt said there will be a batting change. I mean, if there's a batting change, it will be interesting to see who they drop, because if it's Clyde, like you're suggesting, then David Bedingham will have to keep in a test match. He hasn't kept domestically for I don't know how long, so that would be crazy to entrust him with that. Even though I know that he's a decent keeper and he's had good coaching. But I'm now more interested to see what this lineup's going to be. Are we going to see the Maverick in Shukri Conrad come out and try something crazy? It makes it a little bit interesting to want to know that what's going to happen. But let's ask who's our keeper. It's Clyde Fortuin currently. Khalid, will you wake up at 12 in this morning to watch? Yes, I will be up from 11:30 for the toss and then watch the game from 12 right until the morning and then do my show directly after the day's play, like I did for the first test. So, I mean, for me personally, I don't know these players' characteristics as deeply as Coach Shukri will know them. So I think the second test they need to select based on characteristic, mentality, and what is something different that a player can maybe add to the mix. Because straightforward picking on this team on paper, I would have gone with just seamers personally because of the wicket. And knowing that it's green and looking at the past that only seamers have really been selected, I'd have probably thrown Mapungwana in there and dropped one Olivier. But perhaps doing something different might just get us something in this match. Like Bubik is saying, their spin bombardment might be the answer. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Lawrence saying, I'm a fan of Clyde and won't want to see him get dropped, to be honest. I know he's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but the boy can actually play. That's something that we don't discuss, is that at least when Clyde was batting, there was a sense of technique there, defensive ability. You could see he could actually block a ball properly, etc. So his technique is pretty solid. We these players need to step up in this test and show what they can do. I was a bit not irritated. I was a bit disappointed, like I said in my review, because I know that these players are better than that, and I hope that they show it tonight. So, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I mean, I would keep the batters the same, to be honest. If I'm going to be fair, I think I'll keep the batters exactly the same and give them another opportunity to right their wrongs. I would change things up with the bowlers because we've got like that wrist arm mystery from Sean van Berg, and then we've got Dane Pitt, who can really hold up an end well. So there's that, but then the space is running out for extra bowlers, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Let's just go out there and give them a fight. I would like to see them fight for this one and just play a lot better than they did in the first test. If we can, a victory would be so sweet, of course. But they're going to have to fight extremely hard and be at the absolute best if they want to get a result out of this test match. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell for future videos, and share this channel to other friends and family members that you know that are cricket fans and massive cricket fans in South African cricket. We want to we want to grow this channel a lot more. We are getting closer to 5,000 subscribers, so please get us there quite quickly by doing so with us. And thanks a lot for watching. Stay safe, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening. I'll be back again tomorrow morning for the review show directly after the day's play. So put on your notification bells for that, and you'll get notified when we go live. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Peace out, everyone.